She struggled alone until a black classmate stepped in. What followed shocked everyone. The afternoon sun poured gently over the schoolyard, casting long golden streaks across the playground. Children's laughter mingled with the distant sounds of sneakers squeaking against the asphalt, a carefree symphony of a typical school day. Amid the vibrant chaos, one boy moved with quiet attentiveness, almost unnoticed but wholly present. His name was Malik, an 11-year-old with deep brown skin, short cropped hair, and a soft smile that never seemed forced. There was something in the way he observed the world, how his dark eyes lingered on details others overlooked, how his small gestures spoke volumes of his gentle nature. Across the yard, near the edge of the basketball court, sat Leela, his classmate. She was 12, her frame slight and delicate, yet her presence carried a certain resilience. Her wheelchair was a constant companion, a barrier to spontaneous play, but not to her spirit. Even so, the challenges she faced were evident in the way she maneuvered slowly along the path, careful to avoid cracks in the pavement, or how she struggled to reach for her backpack from the cubby. The sunlight highlighted the subtle tension. In her shoulders, the quiet frustration that lingered behind her shy, amber-colored eyes. Often, she watched the other children run and play with a wistful longing, feeling both invisible and separate from the carefree energy around her. Malik noticed these things, the hesitation in her movements, the way she glanced longingly at the group playing tag near the swings. He had never thought of himself as a hero or someone remarkable, but empathy came naturally to him. He observed the small moments, the ones most adults or children ignored, the way she lingered behind to catch her breath, the way she struggled with a zipper or tried to lift a heavy book. Without a word, he would step forward, gently lifting a fallen pencil for her or opening a door, always with a quiet humility that seemed to say, "I see you. You are not alone." It was the ordinary kind of kindness that went unnoticed, but to Leela, it meant the world. Malik never drew attention to himself, never sought recognition, but his attentiveness created a subtle network of support. Teachers sometimes noticed him helping quietly, but it was in the unspoken understanding between him and Leela that his true empathy shone. He did not speak of it, nor did he expect thanks. He simply noticed, and in noticing, he acted on this particular afternoon. The sun dipped slightly lower, warming the asphalt beneath their feet. Children continued to play, voices rising in bursts of excitement. Malik, ever watchful, saw Leela struggling to navigate the crowded path between the basketball court and the benches. Without hesitation, he adjusted the strap of her backpack and gave her a small nod, a signal that he was there to help. It was a gesture so simple, so quietly profound, that it spoke of something larger than words, an awareness, a readiness to serve, a heart tuned to the needs of others. In that moment, as the light glimmered across the schoolyard and laughter rang in the air, a quiet bond formed, an unspoken promise of kindness, trust, and empathy. Malik did not yet know that this small attentiveness, this simple willingness to care, would soon lead to a moment of courage and selflessness that neither he nor Leela would ever forget. As the school day unfolded, Malik's eyes never strayed far from Leela. He noticed the subtle struggles that most overlooked, how her small hands reached awkwardly for books perched on high shelves, the hesitation in her movements as she navigated the narrow hallways, and the wistful glances she cast toward groups of children laughing in circles on the playground. Every misstep, every frustrated sigh, tugged at something inside him, a quiet, persistent impulse to help. Leila's frustration was palpable. Her amber eyes, normally soft and observant, now carried a tinge of embarrassment and longing. She watched her classmates dart across the playground, tagging each other with unrestrained joy, while she remained tethered to her wheelchair, confined by wheels and circumstance. The weight of isolation pressed down on her, heavy and invisible, a burden she bore silently. Each unsuccessful attempt to join in, Every game missed, every book out of reach, etched small lines of disappointment across her young face. Malik, standing a few feet away, felt a pang of recognition in her struggle. It reminded him of evenings spent helping his younger brother with homework, guiding him through tasks that seemed simple to others, but daunting to someone still learning. Perhaps that experience had taught him patience, had honed the quiet kindness that now defined him. He approached her carefully, as though not to startle, his footsteps soft against the worn linoleum of the hallway. "Here. I'll help you with that," he said gently, reaching for the stack of books she struggled to lift. His voice was calm, not commanding, but inviting. Leela's initial surprise softened into hesitant relief as he adjusted the books in her lap, making sure they were secure. He noticed the faint tremble in her fingers and subtly steadied the chair. A small but significant gesture of support. Throughout the day, Malik's attentiveness became almost instinctual. At the cafeteria, he held doors open for her, timing his steps so she could navigate the crowded entrance without stress. On the playground, he guided her through tricky spots between benches and trees, making sure the wheels of her chair didn't catch on uneven ground. Each act was quiet, almost invisible to the others, yet it carried a profound impact, little threads of inclusion weaving a fragile but growing bond. Subtle clues about his nature began to emerge. The way he observed her, anticipating obstacles before she even faced them, hinted at a familiarity with care and responsibility beyond his years. Perhaps he had watched family members struggle, or perhaps he had always been tuned to noticing what others needed. A sensitivity that was both innate and learned. By the time the afternoon bell rang, signaling the end of classes, Malik had quietly altered the rhythm of Lila's day. She had not only managed her tasks with less strain, but also felt a flicker of belonging, a feeling she had rarely experienced in such a chaotic school environment. The bond between them, though silent and unassuming, had begun to take root. Malik's subtle acts of attentiveness had planted the first seeds of trust, empathy, and hope, preparing the stage for a moment of courage that neither of them yet realized was approaching. Even as the sun dipped lower, casting warm streaks across the playground, Malik remained vigilant, his presence steady and reassuring. In his quiet support, Lila discovered that someone truly saw her, not her disability, but her spirit. And in that recognition, a fragile sense of possibility began to grow, hinting at the extraordinary act of kindness and bravery that would soon unfold. The announcement came over the school intercom, echoing through hallways and classrooms. The annual school field day would take place that afternoon. Excitement rippled through the students, a wave of cheers and chatter filling the air. There would be races, obstacle courses, and team activities, a day designed for fun, competition, and camaraderie. For most, it was a chance to show speed or skill, to run and laugh under the warm sun. But for Leela, the announcement carried a sinking weight. Her wheelchair, a reliable companion for everyday movement, suddenly seemed like an insurmountable barrier. The track was narrow and uneven, the obstacle course steep and crowded. As the words sank in, she felt the familiar pang of frustration and isolation. Teachers glanced at her with sympathetic smiles, some murmuring that she might have to sit this one out. A few classmates whispered behind their hands, unsure how or if she could participate. Doubt hovered like a shadow over her, heavier than any weight she had encountered that morning. Malik observed all of this from a distance, his jaw set in quiet determination. He could see the longing in Lila's eyes, the way she clenched her hands on the wheels of her chair, wishing she could join but fearing the impossible. His mind raced with possibilities, sketches of plans forming silently behind his steady gaze. The day had just begun, but he already knew he couldn't let her be sidelined. Not today. Not when her courage and spirit deserved the chance to shine. He approached her during a break between classes, his presence calm and reassuring. "Hey," he said softly, I think I can help you participate today. Do you want to try? Leela's eyes widened in surprise, a mixture of hope and skepticism flickering across her face. She hesitated, aware that others might see them as foolish or that he might fail. Yet, there was something in Malik's voice, steady, patient, and unshakable, that made her consider taking the leap. Malik began quietly assessing the logistics. He measured the paths in his mind, noting where the wheels might get stuck, which ramps needed extra attention, and how to time her movements with the flow of the other students. His meticulous nature and keen observation, honed through years of quietly noticing small struggles, now became a blueprint for action. He anticipated the challenges she would face and started to devise clever, practical solutions. As the other children prepared for the event, some teachers whispered their doubts. "It'll be too hard," one said. "She might get hurt or slow." "The team down," murmured another. Even a few classmates raised eyebrows, skeptical of Malik's bold plan. But he did not falter. He had seen Leela's determination, her quiet strength beneath the surface, and he refused to let the day pass without giving her the chance she deserved. By the time the field day began, Malik had not only planned the path but also mentally rehearsed every obstacle, every slope, every narrow corner. He would be by her side, guiding, supporting, and ensuring that nothing, not judgment, not difficulty, not the weight of doubt, would stop her from participating. The challenge ahead was formidable, but in his mind, it was no longer about obstacles. It was about courage, empathy, and giving someone the chance to step into the sunlight, even when the world seemed to doubt her right to be there. And so, as the students lined up for the first event, Malik positioned himself beside Lila, ready to navigate every twist, every turn, every challenge. In the quiet exchange of determined glances between them, a promise was made: today, she would not be left behind, and together, they would face whatever came next. The morning sun had climbed higher, casting warm light across the schoolyard, and the excitement for the day's event was palpable. Yet for Leela, the thought of participating still carried a twinge of anxiety. The obstacles ahead, narrow pathways, crowded spaces, and the unfamiliar pace of the field day loomed like silent barriers. But Malik, ever observant, had been by her side since the moment the announcement was made, quietly laying the groundwork for her success. He began with small gestures, the kind that spoke volumes. When she struggled to reach the starting line, he guided her wheelchair with gentle hands, anticipating each bump and uneven patch. When she hesitated at a narrow corner, he whispered instructions, offering encouragement instead of command. Slowly, Lila began to trust not just his guidance, but herself. Each small accomplishment, maneuvering around a bench, navigating a slight incline, keeping pace with her classmates, added to her growing sense of confidence. Their friendship blossomed in these quiet moments. Between each task, they exchanged smiles, short bursts of laughter, and nods of shared understanding. Malik never pressured her. Instead, he allowed her to take the lead whenever possible, stepping in only when necessary. His calm presence was a lifeline, a reminder that she was not alone in facing challenges that others might take for granted. Other students began to notice. Some watched with curiosity, intrigued by the boy's unwavering dedication. Others, skeptical, at first, whispered to one another, unsure if his careful planning would really make a difference. A few, however, could not help but admire the determination, the way Malik anticipated every potential obstacle with quiet ingenuity. They noticed the small notebook he carried, pages filled with sketches of the playground, layouts of the course, and timing strategies to help Leela succeed. There were notes on ramps, measurements of spaces between benches, and subtle calculations that would allow her to participate without stress. It was clear that every detail had been considered, every challenge predicted. Lila, too, began to notice the thoughtfulness behind his actions. Every small adjustment, every whispered suggestion, every supportive hand offered, was part of a larger plan she didn't yet fully understand. She felt seen, not as a student with a disability, but as a capable participant whose presence mattered. With each step, or in her case, each carefully guided wheel, she began to feel the thrill of possibility, the rare joy of inclusion that had previously seemed so out of reach. By the time the first activity approached, their bond had deepened into an unspoken rhythm. Malik's careful planning and Leela's growing confidence worked together seamlessly. Her hesitations had lessened, replaced by tiny sparks of courage and excitement. The schoolyard, once a place that highlighted her limitations, was beginning to feel like a space where she belonged. And while not every student fully understood the depth of what was happening, those who paid attention could see the power of empathy, patience, and thoughtful preparation unfolding in real time. In the quiet moments, between cheers and the bustle of preparation, Malik and Leela shared a glance that said more than words ever could. Trust had been earned, courage quietly nurtured, and the stage was set for a day that would not only test their limits, but reveal the extraordinary strength of connection, compassion, and inclusion. The morning of the event dawned bright and clear, but as students gathered on the field, it quickly became apparent that the day would not unfold without challenges. The ramp leading from the classroom to the playground was steeper than anyone remembered. The narrow hallways were packed with children eager to reach the outdoor area, and the equipment for the relay race had been set up hastily, leaving small but significant obstacles in Lila's path. Whispers of doubt rippled through the crowd, some teachers exchanging anxious glances, some classmates casting doubtful stares. Lila's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the wheels of her chair, her heart beating fast with both excitement and fear. The obstacles that seemed trivial to others now loomed like mountains. But Malik was at her side, his presence a steady anchor in the swirling chaos. His eyes, dark and focused, scanned each barrier with precision. Every step he took, every hand he extended, was deliberate, thoughtful, and unwavering. He had anticipated much of the day's challenges, yet he faced each new obstacle with the calm determination of someone who refused to let fear dictate the outcome. As they approached the steep ramp, Malik positioned himself carefully, one hand lightly on the chair's frame, the other bracing her from behind. "We've got this," he murmured, his voice soft but firm, a lifeline of reassurance. Leela exhaled slowly, trusting him, her grip tightening as they ascended the incline together. The ramp creaked beneath the weight, and a collective hush fell over the onlookers, the tension almost tangible in the air. Next came the crowded hallway, a narrow corridor packed with students eager to move toward the starting line. Malik moved like a guide through stormy waters, deftly navigating the chair between legs and backpacks, his focus absolute. Every tilt, every adjustment, every gentle push was calculated, ensuring Leela's safety and comfort while maintaining her momentum. The murmurs of doubt began to soften as classmates watched him work, some with curiosity, others with a growing sense of admiration. Then, a sudden technical issue threatened to halt the event entirely. A misplaced hurdle blocked the track, forcing participants to wait. Malik, however, did not hesitate. He assessed the situation quickly, adjusting the chair's path and creating a temporary solution that allowed Lila to continue without disruption. His mind worked rapidly, but his hands remained steady, his demeanor composed. The tension in the air was thick, each spectator holding their breath as they witnessed the seamless coordination of skill, courage, and determination. With every obstacle conquered, Leela's confidence swelled, and the smile that crept onto her face was both a testament to her courage and to Malik's unwavering support. Step by step, ramp by hallway, hurdle by challenge, the pair moved forward as a unit, an embodiment of resilience, patience, and quiet heroism. The playground, once a stage of anxiety and limitation, transformed into a space of possibility, where determination and empathy could triumph over doubt. As they crossed the final stretch, The applause erupted, sudden and sincere, echoing across the field. Malik's focus finally softened into relief, but his gaze remained on Lila, ensuring she felt the triumph fully. In that moment, the true weight of their courage became clear, not just the physical act of navigating obstacles, the emotional strength required to face a world that too often underestimated them both. The sun had begun its slow descent, casting a warm golden glow across the schoolyard as the final event approached. Lila, guided by Malik's steady presence, had already surpassed every challenge that had once seemed insurmountable. Her confidence had grown with each step, each turn of her wheelchair, each small triumph carefully orchestrated and supported by his quiet vigilance. And yet, what no one anticipated was the revelation that awaited, not just of perseverance, but of hidden talent. As the art activity commenced, students were tasked with creating collaborative murals on large panels set up along the playground. Layla hesitated, unsure if she could contribute in a meaningful way. But Malik, sensing her inner uncertainty, offered her encouragement in the gentlest of tones. "You can do this," he whispered. With his guidance, she positioned her brushes and began to paint, her strokes fluid and confident, revealing an innate artistry that had gone unnoticed for so long. Her peers paused, captivated by the vibrancy of color and emotion emerging from her small hands. What had seemed a simple supportive gesture on Malik's part now became the stage for Leela's extraordinary talent. As the mural took shape, murmurs of admiration spread through the crowd. Teachers leaned closer, intrigued by her creativity, while classmates exchanged surprised glances, realizing they had underestimated her all along. For the first time, Lila experienced the thrill of being seen, not as a student limited by circumstance, but as an individual brimming with skill and expression. The smile that lit up her face was radiant, a mixture of pride, joy, and gratitude, all magnified by Malik's unwavering support. Yet, as attention shifted toward Leela, another revelation quietly emerged. Malik, who had seemed effortlessly composed and endlessly selfless, had been facing his own hidden struggles. Behind the calm exterior and steady hands lay a boy who had wrestled with severe shyness, often silencing himself in classrooms, fearing ridicule and misunderstanding. At home, he navigated family hardships, carrying burdens that would have been too heavy for many adults. And in school, he had quietly worked to overcome a subtle but persistent learning difficulty that made traditional lessons feel daunting. No one had noticed, for Malik had always been careful to conceal his challenges, focusing instead on the needs of others. The juxtaposition of their experience, Slila's newfound confidence, and Malik's silent perseverance created a moment of profound depth. His selflessness, made even more remarkable by the personal hurdles he carried, had provided Lila with the opportunity to shine. It was a cycle of courage and compassion, each supporting the other, revealing that true heroism often lies not in grand gestures, but in consistent, humble dedication to others. As the mural was completed and the applause swelled, both students stood together, Leela glowing with recognition, Malik quietly proud yet unassuming. The twist was not just in the revelation of her hidden talents, but in the understanding that his own courage, born of struggle and empathy, had made her triumph possible. In that shared, unspoken acknowledgement, the seeds of a lifelong friendship, mutual respect, and inspiration were firmly planted. The final event had ended, yet the schoolyard remained alive with a hum of chatter, laughter, and the occasional gasp of awe. Students lingered, their faces flushed from exertion and excitement, while teachers exchanged quiet remarks about the day's unexpected lessons. Amid the crowd, Leela sat in her wheelchair, her hands still trembling slightly from adrenaline, her eyes wide and shining. Beside her, Malik knelt, adjusting the footrest of her chair, his focus never wavering from her comfort. The applause that rippled through the playground was heartfelt yet fleeting. It wasn't the loud cheers or recognition from peers that mattered. Most Though they were certainly gratifying, it was the quiet, almost sacred weight of what had been accomplished. The sense of triumph was not measured in medals or ribbons, but in the shared experience of overcoming limitations, the unspoken understanding that courage and empathy had quietly reshaped the day. Lila's voice broke the gentle hum of conversation. "Thank you," she said, her tone trembling but sincere. "Not just for helping me, but for believing in me when no one else did. I never thought I could do this." Tears welled in her eyes, and Malik's steady hands rested lightly on her shoulders. He shook his head softly, offering a small smile. "You did all the hard work," he whispered. "I just helped you see that you could." Around them, classmates began to approach, curiosity softening into admiration. Some spoke hesitantly, unsure how to express the new understanding stirring within them. "I didn't know she could do that," one whispered. "And he was amazing," said another. Teachers lingered, nodding quietly, recognizing that the day had been a profound lesson far beyond athletics or performance, a lesson in patience, in inclusion, in seeing beyond assumptions to the true potential in others. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the playground, the emotional resonance of the day deepened. Malik's quiet courage had created a ripple effect, altering perceptions and planting seeds of empathy that would grow long after the final whistle. Lila's confidence had blossomed not because of the applause, but because someone had chosen to recognize her capability rather than her limitation. In turn, Malik's own silent struggles, the shyness, the hidden challenges gave weight to every act of kindness he had offered, reminding everyone that true strength often lies beneath the surface, unnoticed until circumstances reveal it. Parents and staff passing by paused, observing without fanfare. They saw the transformation in small gestures, Lila's laughter as she recounted the day's events, Malik's gentle patience in guiding her through the crowd, and the subtle nods of respect exchanged among peers who had witnessed courage firsthand. The impact was quiet, profound, and intimate, a collective understanding that sometimes the greatest victories are those that reshape hearts rather than trophies. By the time the students filed back to their classrooms, the playground had grown still, yet the emotional imprint lingered, invisible yet undeniable. Layla's gratitude, Malik's humility, and the newfound awareness among classmates and teachers created a quiet echo, a reminder that empathy, courage, and patience are not measured by outward recognition, but by the lives they touch. And in that stillness, a shared truth emerged. Moments of genuine kindness have the power to transform more than just one day. They have the power to transform a community. The schoolyard, now emptied of the chatter and laughter of the day's activities, held a different kind of energy, a lingering sense of reflection, quiet but profound. The sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in warm shades of gold and amber, and in that soft light, the events of the afternoon seemed to settle into memory, imprinting themselves not just in photographs or stories, but in hearts. Malik sat quietly on a low bench, watching as Leela skillfully navigated her wheelchair. With newfound confidence, the girl's face, once etched with uncertainty and hesitance, now glowed with pride and joy. Each careful movement, each effortless turn, was a testament to the courage and guidance he had quietly offered. It was not the cheers of classmates or the nods of teachers that defined this moment, but the invisible thread of trust and bravery woven between them, an unspoken bond that had reshaped both their worlds. The narration reflects softly, almost meditatively, on the magnitude of their shared experience. True courage and kindness are measured not by recognition, but by the lives we lift. Malik's bravery had not been loud or boastful. It had been subtle, consistent, and deeply human. He had faced not only the physical challenges of helping Lila through the day, but also the quiet battles of his own shyness, self-doubt, and personal hardships that he bore in silence. And yet, He had chosen to place another's well-being above his own comfort, embodying a quiet heroism that spoke louder than any public accolade ever could. Even the smallest acts of compassion, the narration continues, can send ripples through lives, shaping perspectives, inspiring empathy, and fostering understanding. Malik's patience, his attention to detail, his unwavering support, had allowed Layla to shine in ways previously hidden from everyone, including herself. And in doing so, he had reminded the entire community of a fundamental truth, that selflessness has a power all its own, a power to lift, to transform, and to leave an enduring mark. Around them, the subtle shifts in the environment mirrored the transformation within. Classmates who had watched with curiosity now regarded him with quiet respect, their whispers softened into reflective acknowledgement. Teachers, often busy with schedules and routines, paused to appreciate the profound lesson that had unfolded. A lesson not written in textbooks, but lived in real time, that empathy, courage, and inclusion matter far more than accolades or recognition. As shadows lengthened and the day drew to a close, Malik rose, offering Layla a small smile. She returned it with a radiant, unguarded grin, the kind that carries gratitude deeper than words can convey. The boy's quiet bravery, so carefully exhibited through patience and understanding, had not only changed Layla's world, but had also sent a wave of inspiration rippling outward. His legacy would not be measured in trophies or headlines, but in the hearts of those who witnessed his actions, and in the countless moments of kindness they would carry forward themselves. And so, the narration closes with a final reflection. Gentle yet profound, even the smallest acts of compassion can create ripples of hope that change someone's world. In the quiet aftermath, the schoolyard seemed to hold its breath, honoring the subtle, powerful truth that courage and selflessness are often most remarkable when expressed in silence, yet they echo endlessly, touching lives in ways that last far beyond a single day.